Okay, guys, I think we're live. We've got the green light and we're good to go. Welcome back, everybody. Happy Monday. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you might be watching this back. I hope you have had a good weekend. So we are back. We've got week 8. We're getting on towards the business end of this course now as well. It's funny where the time goes, but yeah, week 8. Today we're just going to keep on building on what we've been looking at the last few weeks, and really trying to nail and get those circuit cards done now, guys. We're going to be looking at a little bit of like fitness testing today, different types of fitness, what they mean. Maybe even have time to talk about how we could potentially develop each. I guess you know how strength is different from being able to run a very long distance. We'll get into that a little bit more in today's session as well. But first of all, just before we do jump in, just a reminder, of course, that today's session is courtesy of Sunderland Council, and any information that you might need to do with sort of learning safely online, a copy of the learner handbook and stuff like that, it's all linked in the description below today's video. So that's safeguarding and all of that sort of thing, what to do if you've got any concerns or anything like that, guys. So yeah, that is linked in the description just below today's video. So on YouTube, you should have a little drop down arrow, and that should open like a little description box, and all that information will be in there as well. So while I'm on the old description box, so other bits that you'll see in there is, of course, a survey for today's session. So as with all the sessions we've done so far, could you please just make sure that you take 30 seconds or so to complete that survey? Just click that link. It'll take you to where you need to be, and then you can put in your answers there and just submit, and they come straight back to us. You don't need to download any files or save anything or fill anything in or email it back or anything. So nice and straightforward, guys. So yeah, please do make sure that you do that survey. We need it for some of the paperwork on this end, on your behalf as well. Save us ringing and pestering you. But mainly, guys, like I say, your feedback's always important to us. We like to know what we're doing well, and of course where we can improve. As always, guys. Last couple of bits of info in that little description box. Then, as always, you've got a link to today's workout video as well, and my email address in there as well. On the off chance that you don't have it yet for whatever reason, that is my email address if you need to get in touch, any questions or anything like that. On the off chance that your circuit cards are done and you feel sort of ready, and you just want to sort of get them sort of shown off, and you can sort of put it to rest and sort of know in your mind that they're taken care of. If you did want to arrange a little one-to-one, that'll be the way that we do them. We'll do a little one-to-one Zoom call, so you're not presenting to the whole group. You can just talk me through your circuit cards pretty much, what exercises you've picked, and all of that sort of thing as well. So if you're ready to do that and get that done, again, drop me an email, and we can start to arrange those now. And then I'm not trying to do everybody's all in the same week as well. So yeah, by all means, if those are ready to go, you want to deliver them, like I say, give me a shout on my email and we'll get those arranged. And of course, not usually one for plugging the old social media, but we've got so much exciting stuff going on at Media Savvy at the minute. If you want to stay up to date with everything that's going on back at headquarters with Diego's coffee joint opening up and stuff like that, even if you just want to know what future courses we've got available as well, again, links to our socials are in the description. So that's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn as well. If you want to give us a little follow on there and keep up to date with all things Media Savvy, those are the places to be, guys. Right then, okay, so that is the description box done and dusted, nice and easy. Yeah, just don't forget that survey in there, guys. I will be, as always, just following along. Got one eye on the live chat as well, so if you've got any questions or anything, like I say, please do just pop along, say hi, or like I say, if you've got any questions, just stick them in there, and like I say, I'll keep one eye on that throughout the morning as we're going. All right, guys. Okay, let's get your PowerPoint ready to go. So yeah, we are on week 8. Last week we looked mainly at the skeletal muscles. Yeah. So if you remember, skeletal muscles are muscles that are funnily enough, connected to our skeleton, and assist us in our voluntary movement, because like we talked about last week, skeletal muscle is muscle that we voluntarily control. Yeah, if I want to turn my head to the left, that's a decision, that's a choice to make that. Yeah, whereas of course your heart just beating isn't something that you need to tell it to do. So like we sort of looked at last week, difference between voluntary and involuntary, but mainly skeletal muscles, in the aim that it's going to help us obviously understand where the main muscles are on the body, have a little bit of idea of how they move, and really how to recruit them or how to exercise them. If you were planning an exercise or putting together a circuit, as we are, what muscles might you want to think about? What, do you want to get a good balance of all the muscles? Do you mainly want to focus on quads, glutes, whatever? Yeah. So, like we sort of talked about before in the past as well, I guess some circuits may focus on a particular body part. Like we talked about the other week, it might all be legs exercises, albeit some are calves, some are quadriceps, some are hamstrings. But something else that might determine the way that we plan our session, and something that we have sort of mentioned a couple of times so far, is outcomes. Yeah, types of fitness that we would like to develop, and that's really what we're going to dive into today. But yeah, skeletal muscles was a big part of last week's session, understanding where they are, how they move, what exercises work what, and then we talked a little bit about putting ourselves in the shoes of the fitness professional, yeah, and the class instructor or the personal trainer or whatever. So how to conduct yourself professionally, what do you expect as the customer? What would, if you were going to see a personal trainer for the first time, or a gym instructor, how would you expect them to conduct themselves professionally? We talked about boundaries and not overstepping boundaries. Of course, certain types of language, body language, posture, attitude, punctuality, all stuff that we talked about last week in relation to just being professional, maintaining a sort of standard, and realizing that, yeah, when you are in that environment, when you're working, when you are a fitness professional, you have that reputation to first develop and then maintain, so yeah, being professional at all times is something that we really need to strive for. And then we touched very briefly on just how to introduce yourself. We talked about the importance of that introduction, in the sense that somebody coming into a gym or a fitness environment for the first time might be shy, might already be doubting themselves and doubting whether this was a good choice. You want to show them that they made the right choice, not reinforce this feeling that they've made the wrong choice, if that makes sense. Make them feel welcome, give them the sort of full on, we used to call it the celebrity treatment. When I was working as a personal trainer, treat your client when they come through the door to an extent like a celebrity, and that's not necessarily blowing smoke up their backside and just catering to them and running around them and stuff like that. But I mean, just, hi, how you doing? Nice to see you. You've got your bottle of water ready to go, your session plan's ready to go. Let's get yourself on the treadmill, let's get you warmed up, and let's crack on, sort of thing. So that sort of thing goes a really long way, especially when you meet somebody for the first time. Given my experience, I was nervous to meet my first client for the first time when they came in. I can't imagine how nervous they may have been as well. So yeah, introducing yourself goes a long way to not just giving you an easy, productive, efficient sort of day that day. It lays the foundation of your relationship with this individual potentially. It maybe paves the way for them to become a one-to-one client, or them coming to your fitness class or whatever. And of course, it all starts from introducing yourself. Okay then, guys, so yeah, that was last week's session. As always, if you want to go back out and check that out again, that session link will still work, the one that I fired across last week. All of the sessions that we've looked at so far, at any point, guys, if you want to go back and sort of revisit them, look at them again, sort of look over a certain topic again, like I say, by all means use those sessions, and feel free to go back and check those sessions out again. Okay then, guys. So what we're going to cover today then? So as I sort of mentioned a couple of minutes ago, we're going to look at different components of fitness. So what we're talking about when we're talking about components of fitness, we're thinking, along the lines of like I gave a little example in the intro in today's session. In order to be able to lift something really heavy or to be really strong, is a different type of fitness to being able to run a marathon. Yeah. If you look at somebody like a Mo Farah, really, really good, solid long distance runner, he's probably not going to win any of the weightlifting competitions. On the flip side, strongest man in the world, he's not going to be very well trained and equipped for a long distance run. Yeah, so there's just straight away, we've got two different types of fitness. Both people that you would look at and say in their own right, they're really fit. They've obviously put a lot of time and effort into their sort of passion, and they've got really fit because of it. But that's exactly it, really. I guess it's those are two different goals. You might have somebody come to the gym who, or you might have, you meet somebody for the first time who's going to be a client and they want to get really strong. Okay, happy days. At least they know that. You might meet another person who wants to get really good at sort of running long distances, or what we would probably call cardiovascular endurance, as we're going to get into this morning's session. And those two people, those two individuals would need to train differently, probably eat differently. And it all is based on whichever type of fitness they would like to improve. So if we identify one type of fitness that we would like to improve, I would like to get stronger, for example. We need to know different types of fitness testing to test that one particular thing, if that makes sense. Yeah. If I was wanting to know whether I've got stronger, going out and doing a mile run doesn't tell me anything. I might have done it faster than I did it last time, which tells me I might have got fitter in some way. But that's just, I've got better cardiovascular endurance. Yeah. So we've got these different types of fitness. And in order to make sure that we are pursuing and actually developing the one that we're trying to develop, we need to make sure that we're testing the right one. Yeah. So we're going to look at different ways of testing different components of fitness. We're going to be making sure that we're using the right kind of testing. Yeah, like I say, so there's lots of ways to do fitness testing. Like I say, we want to make sure it's specific to the right thing. Yeah. If I wanted to know that I'd got more flexible, for example, again, lifting a heavier weight than I did last week doesn't tell me that. It tells me that I got stronger. Yeah. So we want to, first of all, it's helpful to be able to identify which types of fitness are most important to you. Because if you think, like I say, you could line up different athletes from different sports, from different like hobbies, who are all active and all fit in their own way, but they might all be fit in different ways. Yeah, so it's finding out, what does the word fitness mean to you? If you were to go into the gym and say to a personal trainer, I'd like to get more fit, that's where a PT is going to help you, right? Okay, does that mean strength? Does that mean cardiovascular endurance? Does that mean body composition, where you've got, more muscle, less body fat, carrying less water? And then, like I say, making sure that we're using the right type of testing to make sure that we're progressing, and that our training style is working. And of course, we're going to lead into, following on from last sessions as well, how to be professional and helping somebody remain comfortable while you carry out their fitness test, if that makes sense. So if somebody came to you and was doing a fitness test for the first time, how would you really make sure that they're comfortable and sort of happy with what's going on? Yeah. So we can get into that this morning as well. So just to start us off, start at the beginning, as they say. It's a very good place to start. Six different components of what we call physical fitness. Yeah, these may be some of the more common ones that you're going to come across when people say the word fitness or fit. I want to get more fit, or that person is really fit. It's quite a broad term, to be honest. So we've got aerobic endurance, which is, like I was saying a minute ago, same as cardiovascular endurance. It is your body's ability to keep delivering oxygen to the muscles that needs it, yeah, which is ultimately done by your heart rate. How fast your heart beats determines, of course, how much oxygen and how much blood gets around your system. So when it comes to aerobic endurance, that's what helps us, run a long distance without getting so out of breath, because your heart and your lungs can cope with the strain on your body. Yeah, so that's aerobic endurance. Muscular endurance is kind of, so again, endurance is kind of length of time. So it's just muscles. How long can your muscles work before they tire out? Yeah. So we've got aerobic endurance is how long can your heart and lungs work before they tire out. Muscular endurance is, of course, how long your muscles can work before they tire out. Yeah. Which are two different things in themselves. Then we've got flexibility, which is, of course, range of motion at a joint. Speed is, of course, how fast we can travel across a certain distance. Muscular strength is the amount of force we can apply over a shorter amount of time. So endurance is for a long time. So muscular endurance is how long your muscles can work over and over and over again. Muscular strength is potentially how strong could your muscles be throughout one repetition. Yeah. So if you only had to move something once, yeah, how strong could you be at sort of like maximum output rather than for a longer amount of time. And then the last one that we've got is our body composition, which is what I was talking about a minute ago, which is kind of exactly what it sounds like as well. It's what is your body made up of? If you're familiar with music, composition is a music term. It's a case of how things arranged, how things put together. And it's the same with our body. How much of our body is muscle, how much of it is fat, how much of it is water. And again, that in itself is its own sort of type of fitness. You could look at a bodybuilder on stage. If you've ever seen bodybuilders on the days where they do the show, they are crazy, like lean. They haven't got much fat. You can really see all the individual muscles in the body a lot more clearly. And that is due to body composition. Not much fat, not much water, obviously and a lot of muscle. Now, you could look, I've heard people over the years, they see bodybuilders on that day in that shape, and they say, wow, wouldn't it be amazing to look like that? Aren't those guys fit in like peak condition, prime of their life? And, in their own way, they are in the prime of their life and in peak condition. But if you were to, I guess a little industry secret, those bodybuilders on those days are probably, a long way from what a lot of people would class as healthy. They're depleted in terms of calories and the energy that they don't have. They probably don't have enough water in their system. They might have good body composition, but at that time, flexibility is well out of the equation with a bodybuilder. I've seen muscular guys that are so big they can't like take their t-shirts off by themselves because they haven't got the mobility in their shoulders and stuff like that. And again, a bodybuilder, if you were to ask them to do, a long distance race or do, a full circuit, they're probably going to be in a pretty bad way because they're not trained in that style of fitness, if that makes sense. So again, people that we could look at and say, oh, those are really fit, they might only be particularly really fit in one or two of these components of fitness. And I guess that's where the secret is. I guess once you know that we have different types or different components of fitness, we can begin to identify which ones are most important to us. And then the amount of time that we have to dedicate towards our fitness goals each week, we can start to really sort of hone in on one area. If you were trying to, within a week, of your exercise, whatever that week's exercise looks like. If you were trying to improve aerobic endurance, muscular endurance, flexibility, speed, muscular strength, and body composition all at the same time, you're going to have a really, really hard time because you're trying to move in so many different directions, you know. It's going to make it harder to eventually ever reach any of them, you know. So that's where, again, a new client would come through the door, speak to me in the gym, and I would say, right, okay, when you say that you want to get fitter, what does that mean? Okay, I'd like to be able to X, Y, and Z, you know, be able to do the housework without getting so out of breath. It's like, okay, we're thinking about aerobic endurance. Let's focus all of your training on aerobic endurance until you get to the point where you say, do you know what? I really feel as though that's worked. I'm actually at the point where I'm managing with that a lot easier. You know, then you might think, okay, what next? Do I want to keep improving aerobic endurance? Do I want to think about, you know, my body composition? Do I want to think about strength? You know, am I struggling moving things around the house or lifting like certain weights? Do I want to work on strength? And then you can, you know, pick one, start moving in that direction, hopefully achieve that goal, and then you set your sights on something else and, you know, focus like on that one. Again, like I said, you're better off working towards like really focusing on improving one of these than trying to do them all at the same time. And this is where it ties in with our circuit cards as well, because this is where you can start to think to yourself, right, okay, in planning my circuit, which of these sort of components would I like to be developing the most? You know, are you thinking about aerobic endurance, muscular endurance? Are you thinking about, you know, muscular strength, maybe a little bit more, which again might just inform the way that you pick your exercises or pick your equipment or choose how long your set is going to be. Is it 30 seconds? Is it 60? It might help you choose how long you want to rest in between. If you're trying to focus on strength a little bit more, you might want to give people more rest in between their circuits or in between their stations, if that makes sense. You know, it's hard to do one at the maximum of your ability and then do another one at the maximum of your ability. You know, you need a little bit more rest for strength training. If you're focusing on endurance, maybe a little bit less rest. And so all of these things can start to, like I say, impact the way that we plan our circuit. Yeah. A circuit that focuses on strength would look a lot different to a circuit that works on aerobic endurance. Yeah. So again, now we can start to have a little bit of a think. Which of these, you know, might be important to me, or which of these do I think are more important to people in general? And I'll make that the focus of my session. And, you know, in theory, or in reality, sorry, that would be obviously a draw for people to come to your class, which helps you earn money, which helps you keep doing it and keep helping people, if that makes sense. Yeah. So, of course, trying to plan something that appeals to the masses or appeals to the public is something that you would try and do. But at the same time, I've always sort of stressed on just applying your own style, find out your own style, what makes your classes you, I guess, you know, what makes you you, because that tends to be why people will come to your session and keep coming. You know, people get used to one instructor and a particular style, and at that point, believe it or not, we'll probably follow you till the ends of the earth just to be able to keep coming to your classes. You know, I'm fortunate to have clients move gyms when I've moved gyms so they could stay with me or things like that, you know. But yeah, trying to find, I guess, what makes you you and what makes your sessions unique. Finding your niche is obviously a big part of it as well. But the beauty, of course, is for this little activity that we're doing, planning your own circuit, you can make it whatever you want. You know, you can try and get you don't necessarily have to pick one of these. You might want a mixture of one or two, you know. You might want to focus on muscular endurance, but it might be, you know, you do an exercise on legs and then an exercise on arms and then back to legs and then back to arms. So you're still getting that volume and you're still getting a lot of exercise on certain muscles, but they're getting that little bit of rest as well. Like I say, we could be here all day talking about the many ways that we can plan our circuits. If you feel as though you're still struggling with getting a little bit of sort of like a format and a little bit of a structure to your session and your circuit plan, again, let me know, drop me an email, and I'm happy to try and help you sort of finalize some ideas and hopefully start getting some circuit cards actually planned out. Get pen to paper, because at the very least, it'll be a tool, and it'll be a circuit that you can complete yourself at home if you're still trying to find new ways to be fit. We've had a chance to use the Media Savvy home workouts now. You've probably done some of them, if not all of them. You might be ready for something a little bit differently. This is helping you. This will help you, plan your own circuits and plan your own sessions, which goes a long way in achieving your fitness goals without the help of a personal trainer. If that obviously isn't financially available. Okay then, guys, so we're going to spin on. So those are our 6 components of physical fitness. Yeah. So aerobic endurance, let's get into them a little bit deeper. So the ability of the cardiorespiratory system, lungs and heart, to efficiently supply nutrients and oxygen to work in muscles during sustained physical activity. And that's the key there, guys. With the word endurance, it's always going to be sustained activity, be it lifting weights for muscular endurance or more cardio sort of based stuff for aerobic endurance. So how can we monitor aerobic endurance? What do we think, guys? How might we be able to monitor our aerobic endurance? Are we becoming more efficient at getting oxygen and nutrients to our muscles? Yeah. So I want you to think about it. If you were trying to improve your aerobic endurance, how would you test if you were? You're taking time out of your week. You are, dedicating a time every day where, I'm sure most of us would rather be able to chill out with family, friends, put our feet up, maybe spend a little bit more time cooking, something for tea. But, we take time out of our day. We sacrifice part of our day to exercise and act, keeping fit and staying active. How do we then make sure that time is being well spent and to make sure that we're progressing in the right direction? Because like I say, coming in, lifting a weight that's heavier than last week doesn't really tell us that we've improved our aerobic endurance. So let's think about it. So the only way really to test it is by doing it. Yeah, we need to put our body in a position where it needs to supply nutrients and oxygen to our muscles during sustained physical activity. And we need to assess whether we are doing that better or worse than the last time. Yeah. So I guess the first thing really is to get a base measurement, like a baseline. So when you start, if you're trying to improve your aerobic endurance, maybe pick a walk on a like a brisk speed, maybe it's on a treadmill or whatever. See how long you can go before you get tired and out of breath and need to take a break. Yeah. Next time you come to the gym, or in a couple of weeks' time, or in a month's time, when you do that test again, am I making improvements? Is what everything else I'm doing working to improve my aerobic endurance? And you can come back a month later, do the same thing. You can pick the same speed, maybe get to the same time. Like, okay, last time I did 6 minutes and I was getting really out of breath. Today I'm up to 9 and I'm still fine. Excellent. What I'm doing is working. Does that make sense? In the sense that we did the test once, got our base measurement, then we came back a little bit later. It doesn't have to be every time you go to the gym. That would kind of be counterproductive. You're not going to see results based on like one day or one session, so it's not something that you need to take time to do every time you are training or active. But again, maybe you go for a run. Maybe you don't use the gym. Maybe you like running, local to where you live. It might be a case of timing your run. Have you made it round faster this time? Which suggests and potentially indicates that your, muscles, so your heart and your lungs are coping a lot better as well. Yeah, so that's just another way we might test our aerobic endurance. Right, okay, I ran this distance before at this speed and I'm finding it easier this time, or I ran this distance last time and I've actually done it faster. So I'm actually coping better as well. So just a couple of ways we might monitor our aerobic endurance there, just to make sure that we are progressing. Yeah, because you'd be pretty miffed if you spend 6 months at the gym trying to improve your aerobic endurance, you come back to it 6 months later and you can still only walk the same distance before you get out of breath. You'd be really disheartened. That would probably be the end of that fitness journey, to be honest. Six months where you feel as though you've achieved nothing certainly isn't encouraging for another 6 months, is it? So we want to monitor sort of infrequently enough where we're not looking for results every day. It's because exactly the same. You eat a salad, you don't lose a couple of pounds overnight. Our fitness is the same. It takes time to adapt and it takes time to show. So our aerobic endurance, we're thinking, yeah, that would be the way that I would test. I would test our aerobic endurance just to make sure. Every now and then, just double checking that we're making progress. Because if we aren't making progress, it's not the end of the world. We just want to make sure that we haven't wasted too much time, energy, effort, and we just, right, okay, it's not working. Let's have a look at why it's not working. Yeah, how do I need to change up my training to start to get this benefit so that next time I do this test, I've made progress. Yeah, if that makes sense. So that's aerobic endurance. So the next one, muscular endurance. Like we said before, sustained for a period of time. So our muscular endurance is the ability of a muscle to continue contracting, so working, moving, which is like we talked about last week, the only way muscles move, by contracting or lengthening, over a period of time against a light to moderate load. Yeah, so something we can do and manage to do over and over again, of course, still gets to the point where our body struggles to keep up. It's exactly the same as if you get you put your arms out to the side nice and straight at first, because your arms aren't that heavy, your muscles will find it quite easy. Over time, those muscles are going to start to get tired and that's going to feel harder and harder and your arms will feel heavier. So that's muscular endurance. I can do it once, no problem. I can probably do it 10 times, no problem. But if I was to try and sit here for a couple of minutes, 5 minutes maybe, those muscles are going to get to tire out and eventually will switch off pretty much. So muscular endurance is just how long it takes to get to that point where your muscles are like, right, okay, I'm going to, I'm essentially done. I'm clocking off for the day. I need a break. So that's muscular endurance. I know we're going to look at muscular strength in a minute, but of course, the difference between endurance and strength is, like I say, strength is just doing something briefly, for a short amount of time, once, maybe twice, picking up this box and putting it on the top shelf or whatever, as opposed to doing something over and over and over again, which is what our muscular endurance is talking about. So again, how can we monitor our muscular endurance? I want to give you just a little minute to ponder it and just think about how, given that we've just talked about aerobic endurance and I've given some examples of how we could test that, what do you guys think? Muscular endurance, how can we test it? How can we make sure that our muscles are getting better at working over a period of time against a light and moderate load? How could we test that? I'm going to give you just a minute just to ponder it, double check the chat and make sure there's nothing going in the chat. Where are we at? Right, guys. Okay, I've got the chat there, just in case anybody is popping in there. Okay, guys. So muscular endurance, we've actually got one of the ways that we could do. We've got a clue of in the PowerPoint itself, in the slide, and it's these people riding the bike. Obviously, riding a bike is kind of a form of cardio, and you would normally see bikes in the gym in the cardio section. But what we're doing on a bike, what we might not realize is obviously pushing those pedals takes our thigh muscles and sometimes our bum muscles as well, our glutes. So we've got our quads and our glutes working. So again, how do we monitor muscular endurance? Of course, it depends on how much time we've got, but muscular endurance is what we're using when we're cycling. Pedaling over and over and over again. Push the pedal, push the pedal, push the pedal for however long it is that you're cycling for. It's very repetitive when you think about it like that. And those muscles are working over and over and over again. So a way that we might monitor muscular endurance is, so first of all, I would try and identify the muscle that you're trying to improve the endurance in. It might be your legs, it might be your arms or your abs or whatever it is. You know, it might be in your legs because you're going for a walk and your legs are getting tired over time. Yeah, your heart's coping quite well, but your legs are getting tired. And it might be right, okay, so we're trying to improve endurance in our legs, not just obviously in general. Trying to improve that muscular endurance. So again, how do we get the body better at doing something? Well, we make it do it and get it used to doing it. So how do we monitor muscular endurance? Obviously, again, we need our reading when we first start. We need our like day zero result. You know, so again, if you were to come to me as a client and you were saying, look, Rob, the most important thing to me is developing my muscular endurance. Okay, day one, I'm going to try and get an understanding of where your endurance is at. So I might ask you to get on a bike in the gym. I might put the level up quite high to simulate you cycling up a hill. And I might see how many meters of altitude you can get before your legs tire out. Yeah. In 6 weeks' time, I might ask you to do it again, and hopefully you're going to either get further in the same amount of time or find it easier, whatever, some indicator that it was easier than last time. And that'll tell us that your muscular endurance is getting better. Yeah. So, of course, all of these, it comes down to we need that base reading, which is why, sorry, I would spend so much time with a client on an induction talking about components of fitness and trying to identify, right, what is actually important to you. When you say you want to get fit, you're not bothered about lifting big weights. So I'm not going to show you all the weights machines. You want to get fit so you can go on walks with your family and keep up with your grandkids when they come around, right? Okay, I can use that and we can train for that. Yeah, so that's your chance to, like I say, do a little bit of digging and again and find out what makes that person tick. Because when they say fitness, they probably don't, know about components of fitness. So they usually mean one of these components, not all of them. Yeah, so find out which of them they'd like to work on. Get a baseline as early as you can, right? This was when you started, this was your result. In the future, we'll do this test again and we'll see how we've progressed. Okay, so next one we've got is flexibility. So flexibility is having an adequate range of motion in all joints of the body. It is the ability to move a particular joint through its complete range of movement. Yeah. So how can we monitor flexibility? So there's, again, different ways depending on, are we looking at a particular type of flexibility? Is it in the legs, hips, shoulders, back, whatever it is? But how we can monitor them, we have what we call a sit and reach test. It's a sit and reach test. So what you'll do, you'll get essentially like you get a box. Yeah, you'll get a box and you'll put it up against the wall so it doesn't move anywhere. Yeah, nice and straightforward so far. You'll then sit with your bum on the floor, your legs straight, and your feet up against one end of the box. Yeah, pushing it into the wall so it won't move. So you can put a little bit of pressure with your feet, straighten your legs out, and sort of have your feet up against this box. From there, all you do with your legs straight, try and lean forward and can you touch the box? If you can touch the box, how far across the top of the box can you reach? If that makes sense. So it's okay, this person got to the box and another 5 centimeters, yeah? And then again, in future, we do the same test. Did that person reach any further? Yes, they must be getting more flexible. Yeah, that's a sit and reach test. There is another way actually, and again, it might be a little fun extra sort of bit of trivia you could take away from today. But I use one on my phone. Trying to just double check what it's called. Joniometer records. Yeah, Joniometer records. Yeah. And pretty much what you do it measures the angle on a joint pretty much. So if I was trying to, for example, figure out, shoulder mobility, I might, measure the angle there, if that makes sense, the angle in the armpit. So I could say that's 90 degrees. Obviously, I can come higher, but if I couldn't come higher, that would be a 90 degrees angle in there, using this app. And then next time we do the test, hopefully that angle will be a bit bigger, suggesting that you're getting more flexibility of the joint. And it's quite a good, it is quite a good one, to be honest. It's quite a good app. So maybe it's worth checking out if you've got anything particular. Like I say, I've never really used it for myself. That was more just clients trying to find out how many degrees movement they had at the hips and stuff like that. In terms of what we need, the sit and reach test does the job, to be honest. Most people that want to get more flexible tends to be in their back or their hamstrings, both of which are tested by the sit and reach test anyway. So yeah, it's kind of like, I always think of it, it's almost like the thing that you use to measure your foot size in the shoe shop. You sort of get your feet right up against it, and then you pull the thing down and you measure how many centimeters it is. Sit and reach test is the same. Feet against the box, lean forward. Can you touch the box? And if you can, how many sort of centimeters, inches beyond that did you reach? Yeah. So that would be one way of testing flexibility. Okay, speed then. Speed. So speed, there's probably a few things that come to mind when we hear the word speed. We might have different sort of understandings of the word. We're talking in the obviously in the most scientific sense there is. Speed is actually it's obviously immeasurable. It's calculated by looking at the meters, or working out meters per second, which is essentially our distance divided by how long it took to cover it. Yeah. So if somebody went, let's say, choose the calculator, because I wouldn't want to give you any duff info. So distance, say I did 100 meters divided by 11 seconds, that's the speed of 9.09. Yeah. If I was to do, again, if I wanted to know that I was getting faster, if I was getting more speed, the best way to do that would be, of course, do the same distance again, do the 100 meters again. Did I run 100 meters faster? Did I run slower? Am I making progress, or am I regressing? Yeah. So that's quite a nice simple one there for speed. It is nice and straightforward in the sense of sort of measuring it, of course, and monitoring it. It wouldn't apply if we were sort of talking about obviously a Formula One driver. How fast did they do a lap? Because that's kind of more to do with the car than their individual fitness, if that makes sense. Yeah. So although Formula One is kind of fitness and requires a lot of fitness, speed isn't a thing really that Formula One drivers actually need, because the car does that, runners need speed, be it short distance or long distance. That speed comes into play. So the best way to test it would probably be with a stopwatch, with a timer, whatever it is. It might be, like I say, it might be sprints, timed sprints or whatever. Things like the bleep test. If you've ever done the bleep test, that's more endurance, because you build up. Yeah, you could probably isolate it, to be honest, and do just like, right, okay, I want to do this level. Yeah, I want to do this level and see if I can make it today fresh. So what I'm on about there, if you've never come across the bleep test before, and I know just saying the word bleep test is probably enough to send a shiver down the spines of some of you, but the bleep test, you've got a set distance. So you've got to get from point A to point B in a certain amount of time. Yeah. And you have a backing track, or like an audio track, which beeps when you set off, and it beeps when you've run out of time to cover that distance, if that makes sense. So the aim is to get there between beep 1 and beep 2. Yeah. Then you might obviously turn around and run back and you're trying to get there before the next beep. But each interval between beeps gets shorter, if that makes sense. So you have less time to run the same distance each time. Yeah. So the first time it might feel really easy. After a couple of times you're doing it, you're getting tired, and that time's getting shorter as well. So the bleep test, yeah, it's hard going, it's hard work, but can be a good marker of right, okay, by the time I'm getting tired by the time I get to level 6, whereas last time it was level 4. I'm getting better endurance. Or you might just come in and say, do you know what? I want to have a go at level 9 and see if I'm fast enough, but not, do it in isolation, do it by itself without doing the full thing. So that would be the difference between speed and the sort of aerobic endurance. But things like the bleep test, Cooper test and stuff like that could monitor both in their own way. Okay, then we've got muscular strength. So like I mentioned earlier on, muscular strength is totally different to that muscular endurance. Yeah, so we've got our muscular endurance is working for a continuous amount of time, working over and over and over again. Muscular strength is just the maximum force that those muscles can produce. Yeah. So you're probably only going to manage to do it once. That makes sense. Because if you're doing it more than, a handful of times, it's probably not being the maximum the first time. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, it's the maximum force a muscle or muscle group can produce. So again, how do we monitor muscular strength? Again, it would be a case of asking the body to do exactly that. How much force can they produce in one go, at one time? So again, day one, they tell you that muscular strength is important and they would like to develop it. Okay, we need to get an understanding of where you are right now. Let's jump on, the bench. Let's do a bench press or a squat or whatever it is, and we'll find out what we call a 1 rep max. Yeah, and that is how much weight you could do for 1 rep. The maximum weight you could do for 1 rep, which is essentially lifting the weight once. Yeah, so for 1 rep, how much can you lift? Yeah, and then in time, again, your training has hopefully been developing muscular strength. You go to do this again, and you should be able to lift a heavier weight. Yeah, to let you know that you're getting stronger and you're getting more muscular strength. Yeah, so that's what we're referring to there when we're talking about muscular strength, and that would be the main way that I would be testing muscular strength. Again, they might have said, look, I want to improve my strength in my legs or my arms. Just make the test more specific to that. If it's arms, get them on the bench press. Or if it's squats, like I say, put them on the squat rack or give them like a goblet squat or something. Might be leg press. A leg press might actually be a safer way to do a 1 rep max, especially for a new client where you've not got to teach them proper squatting technique and stuff like that. So yeah, probably a leg press. If you've never seen a leg press, it's the machine where you sort of sit down in the reclined chair and you put your foot against like just the surface or the platform and you push it away with your legs. That is the leg press. So yeah, that would be a good way of testing leg strength. Last time you tried to do 80, you couldn't move it. Let's try 80 again today, see if it's going anywhere. If it is, must mean we've got stronger, right? Surely. Okay, so the last one to talk about in terms of sort of physical components of fitness, where we are. So yeah, just to recap, we've got components of physical fitness. So aerobic endurance, muscular endurance, flexibility, speed, muscular strength. And the last one I want to talk about is body composition. Now, body composition is can be a bit of a sensitive topic, in the sense that, of course, the aim is to love our body composition or to to love ourselves and be kind to ourselves, cut ourselves some slack, embrace ourselves for being who we are, not try and conform and fit in with everybody else, while at the same time, of course, trying to be healthy as well, and trying to make sure that our body can cope with the body composition we have, if that makes sense. So yeah, when we're talking about body composition, it's the relative ratio of fat mass to fat-free mass. So again, vital organs, muscle, bone, in the body. What are you composed of? Yeah, what percentage is muscle? What's bone? What's fat? Whatever. Now, with body composition, I guess with all of these really, but like I say, body composition being the one that I think people are probably most conscious of and is more visible to the naked eye. It's important to point out that there is no correct body composition. Yeah. With body composition, I say we're all built differently. It's part of what makes us amazing. It's what makes us so unique. We are all built differently. People come in many different shapes and sizes, and we should certainly never base our feeling of self-worth. It doesn't give us value as a human, our body composition. That needs to be said outright. The person that we are, our character, our personality, our attitude, the way we treat others, the way we treat those less fortunate than us, is some of what determines all of that. But our body composition is not. So let's get that out of the way straight away. Our body composition is, again, it's just another state to be in right now, which gives us an idea of, are we moving forwards or backwards? Yeah. Now, in the sense of body composition, the idea of moving forwards generally means reducing the amount of body fat you have. Yeah. Now, it's a tricky one because once you get to a certain level of body fat in terms of not having very much, making further progress probably comes at the expense of other forms of health. Yeah, or certainly, well yeah, I guess we can leave it at that because that might include mental health. I don't know anybody who is under 10% body fat who doesn't make significant sacrifices in their diet, in their time, and obviously their training, their consistency, and their sort of discipline to stick to their training. And that isn't for everybody. Yeah, that is a trade-off that to a lot of people might not be worth it. Now, as long as our heart is healthy, obviously our lungs are healthy, our internal organs can do their job, and they're getting vitamins and nutrients and minerals and everything that we need, and water, of course, for hydration. Those are the things that make us healthy. Body composition, like I mentioned earlier on, doesn't necessarily link in with health. It is an area where people might identify that they would like to improve. A client probably will come to you at some point and say, I'd like to lose a little bit of body fat. I'd like to work on my love handles. I'd like to lose some weight from here or whatever. But again, there is no right or wrong body composition. And being a lower percentage of body fat isn't always a good thing or worth it. Yeah. So again, just be mindful of that. So when we're talking about body composition, how do we even monitor it? Yeah, how do we even monitor somebody's body composition? Because of course the eye test is probably the component we can use the eye test on the most, but of course never judge a book by its cover. And it's really hard to tell, certainly on certain individuals, what might be muscle, what might be fat, which of it is water. So body composition, the way that I've always done it with clients, generally we'll do what we call a skin fold test. Yeah. So we get some calipers, which are essentially, they're like a nipping set of tweezers. Already sounds like a hell of an experience, doesn't it? Nipping tweezers with a kind of protractor built in to tell you angles, or in this case, it's how many centimeters. Yeah. So how many centimeters is this gap here? Yeah. Between the obviously jaws of the tweezers. So what you do, you'll take a place in somebody's body, sometimes hip, sometimes the back of the arm. You'll just nip whatever loose skin or fat is there to be sort of nipped, not too hard, obviously. Squeeze it with the skin fold calipers. That obviously gives you your reading, and it says, okay, there is 2 centimeters of body fat or whatever. Yeah, and we can use that to see if we're gaining fat in an area or losing fat in an area. Yeah, we can use that reading to do a calculation to calculate body fat percentage. Yeah, so again, if you ever heard anybody talking about, oh, I'm 15% body fat or whatever, that's what we're talking about there, that body composition. Yeah. So again, now your body composition may depend on obviously a lot of different things, genetics, childhood, environment that you've grown up in, obviously, what sports have you played, what activities do you like doing, what hobbies have you got. But yeah, there's I have to try and dig it out. Let me know if you're interested. There's a really interesting thing that I came across before called the sacrifice, the cost of being lean. That was it. And it was a sort of rough example of, right, okay, if you're trying to get into this percentage body fat, you know, these are going to be the benefits, but these are probably going to be the sacrifices that you might have to make, you know. Less snacks, less takeaways, less freedom to say, yeah, let's have a barbecue, let's go for a beer or whatever. Yeah. So again, it's finding what's right for you, really. You can decide, yes, I would like to improve my body composition, but only you can decide as well what's worth it. As a personal trainer, I can tell you, look, in order to get to 10% body fat, you're going to need to make these sacrifices. That's then your choice, whether that's worth it to you or not. That's your decision, and that's the beauty of it. Everybody as an individual gets to decide what's worth it to them, I guess. Strictly when it comes to body composition. So body composition can be a little bit of a tough one to talk about. And again, if that's something that you feel like as though you struggle with and would rather speak to me sort of one-on-one, please do reach out. I've worked with a lot of clients over the years who are naturally quite sort of body conscious, and the aim of everything I've ever done is to, of course, show people how to improve, but also how to embrace our uniqueness, embrace where we are right now, and like I say, what makes us different from other people. Yeah. And see value in ourselves regardless of what our body composition is, I guess. Because I think society and certainly media, of course, almost has this narrative really that self-worth and body composition or value go hand in hand, and that's just certainly not the case. It's obviously one that's a little bit more close to home for myself as well. So I obviously do probably end up talking about body composition a little bit more than normal, but and more than some of the others. But yes, I feel as though in today's in this day and age with, you know, filters and airbrushing and Photoshop and stuff like that, we need to embrace that we're all different and learn to love ourselves regardless, and not aspire to be somebody else. That person already exists. Aspire to be the best version of you. Okay then, guys. Okay, so we've done our 6 physical components. Now we've got 5 skill-related components of fitness. So we have got agility, balance, coordination, power, and reaction time. these tend to come up in initial conversations a little bit less, you know. For every client that has come to me that has wanted to improve their balance, there's probably been 20 that have wanted to improve their body composition or their strength, you know. But these are components of fitness as well. And again, certain individuals, when they say, you know what, I would like to get fitter, they might mean, you know, better coordinated, more agility and balance and stuff like that, or reaction times. And they are equally important, obviously, in addressing and developing, depending on the person. Certain individuals that I've worked with over the years benefited much more from working on their agility and their balance than they would have done from, you know, working on their cardiovascular fitness or whatever. They were already able to do what they needed to do. For example, around in their day-to-day lives, they didn't feel as though they needed to be any fitter. Yes, they could have been more cardiovascularly fit, but the main thing that helped is their balance to help them, you know, carry things around the house without support or whatever it might be. You know, so it's important not to overlook these as well, and identify sort of where they come in, where they're used and called upon, and again how to improve them and how to monitor that they are improving. Really, I guess. Okay, so first one that we're going to look at is agility. So agility might be a word that you're familiar with and have come across before. But agility is the ability of a sports performer to quickly and precisely move or change direction without losing their balance. Yeah. So you can quickly change direction without falling over, even if you're already moving in a particular direction. Now, that might be, you know, where does that come into play? That will come into play with obviously football, where players are changing directions quite quick. Of course, basketball, if you like your basketball, probably even more so in terms of moving their body, you know, changing direction, try and, you know, get past the guy who's marking them. And outside of competitive sort of team sports as well, I guess you could say we've got agility in ice skating, dancing, all of that sort of thing as well, gymnastics, agility. So again, the only way to do it really is to ask them to do it and test it and measure it and maybe time it if you can. In this sense, it might be, okay, I want you to do I want you to sort of zigzag across the hall and touch that cone, that cone, that cone, that cone, and that cone. You know, they're touching and then they're changing direction really quick. See how fast you can get back here. You know, see how fast you can touch all 10 cones. That might be sort of a way we could check agility and seeing if it's getting better than last time. You know, it might just be doing sort of like slaloms in and out, kind of like you do for skiing. You know, being able to change that direction and maintaining that center of balance as well. And a bit of a tricky one because, of course, we're treating balance as its own component of fitness as well. So agility is, of course, changing direction without losing that balance. But what are we talking about when we're talking about balance? So balance, again, probably one that you've probably come across. I'd be surprised if you haven't. But, you know, maybe. So yeah, balance is the ability to maintain your center of mass over a base of support. There are two types of balance really. So we've got our static balance, which is holding a position and maintaining balance, and dynamic balance is sort of staying in control and remaining on balance throughout the movement. Yeah, so kind of like a cartwheel. Yeah, so we've got static balance like a handstand. Keep your balance, don't fall out of the handstand. And then we've got our dynamic balance, which is like I say, a cartwheel or things like when you see Olympic diving and stuff like that. So that's the difference between a static balance and a dynamic balance. Just checking the little chat there. Just making sure I'm not missing anything in the chat. Oh, you don't, you guys, cool. Okay, so I'm going to give you just a minute actually to try and think of a sport that might require static balance, and a sport that might require dynamic balance. Yeah, we'll take gymnastics off the cards because we've used that in our example. Let's have a look and see if we can name a different sport that requires static balance and a sport that may require a dynamic balance. Yeah. I'll give you just a minute. I want to see if you can get maybe one of each. If we can get a sport with static balance and dynamic balance as well. So just to recap, dynamic balance is to is maintain a balance throughout a movement, and static balance is of course just maintaining balance in one particular position. Yeah. Okay then. So static balance is actually one of the harder ones to think of when we're thinking of sports, because there's not many sports really where you're going to stay totally still, I guess, and have to really maintain a position. I guess the main one maybe, of course, if you were doing even if you were doing ice skating or something, and you obviously were trying to stay on your feet, without skating around the place, just even trying to stand up. That is, of course, our static balance. Dynamic balance, like I mentioned earlier on, might be doing a flip through the air and landing on your feet, or doing like an Olympic dive, or even just like in the example, like a cartwheel. It is just maintaining that balance, throughout the movement as well. And so that's the big difference between static balance and a dynamic balance. I guess static balance you might use a little bit in things like I guess kind of things like combat sports. I guess MMA, boxing's a big one where of course obviously you've got to stay on your feet, keep your feet underneath you. You're kind of moving around, but you sort of, even when you're stood in place, you've got to keep your balance, stay on your feet, sort of thing as well. Yeah. So just another example there. Yeah, okay, coordination then next. Coordination. It's one that I think gets overlooked quite a lot, and it's the sort of smooth flow of movement, or the movement in general, needed to perform a motor task, which is kind of just like a moving task, efficiently and accurately. In this example, it would be seeing a ball coming towards you and being able to coordinate swinging the racket to hit the ball back. It might be in golf, you're not even hitting a moving ball, you're hitting a stationary one, and that requires its own coordination. It might be boxing where you're throwing certain punches to certain pads at certain times in patterns or routines, maybe. So lots and lots of places where that sort of coordination comes in. It's sort of almost like control of limbs and stuff like that as well, and making sure that we're sort of in control and know where they are, sort of thing, which it sounds really funny to say. Do I know where my limbs are? Yeah. Attached to my body, hopefully. But no, just sort of being able to direct them towards where you need them to be accurately and quickly, I guess. A motor task would include picking up this cup of coffee and drinking it. I needed the coordination to put my hand on the cup and pick it up. Thankfully, that's not very challenging. I've got lots of experience picking up the coffee cup. But again, it's one of them where obviously the faster something's moving, the harder that coordination is going to be, the less time you have to think about it. But yeah, anything like that, it's all to do with coordination. Even if I threw a ball and just get you to catch it, that's coordination as well. That's something that I've worked on quite a lot with certain clients that I've had over the years, be it they've wanted to get again better at stuff like boxing and MMA and stuff like that, or just in terms of moving and mobility, being able to catch a ball translates pretty well. to certain day-to-day tasks, believe it or not. Okay, then we've got power. Yeah, we've got power next. So kind of like speed, it's the work done in an amount of time. Yeah, so it's calculated in the following way: the force in kilograms times the distance in meters divided by the time it took to do it. Yeah, so I might say I've got a 50-kilogram ball which I've moved 100 meters, and it's taken me a minute to do it. Put all of those into that calculation, and that gives you your power reading. Yeah, so then again, you're looking for more power. Yeah, so you'd be looking for probably really the way that you're going to end up with more power is probably going to be by moving more kilograms, moving further distance, or reducing the time that you've moved that weight, that distance, if that makes sense. So either of those would translate into a higher sort of power number or result, meaning that, yeah, you're moving in the right direction and they're getting more powerful. Yeah. So there's a difference, remember, again, between power and strength. Yeah. And that's the difference. So power, the work done in a unit of time, power equals force times distance divided by time. Yeah. Muscular strength is maximum muscle output in one instance. Yeah. As opposed to what this gentleman's doing in the picture with the battle ropes. Moving the weight of them, however many meters, and he's doing these slams and stuff like that, and the time it's taken him to do it, sort of thing. Yeah. Okay then. Okay, so hang on. There's one slide in this PowerPoint that my laptop just doesn't like, and we're getting to it. So bear with us, guys. Okay, so the last one of these that we want to look at is its reaction time. So it's another one that kind of like coordination, goes hand in hand, kind of like agility and balance kind of does as well. So reaction time is, in this case, the time taken for a sports performer to respond to a stimulus and the initiation of their response. In general, it doesn't have to be a sports performer, it could be anybody. Like I say, it may well be, like I say, it may well be, right, I'm going to throw a ball from pretty close, can you try and like get your hand up and block it, sort of thing. A good example now, I guess, reaction time, though, just to give you a nice clear picture of what we're talking about, is, say you're a goalkeeper in football, like this person, like this lady on the screen here. If you're a goalkeeper in football and somebody takes a shot and it deflects off a different player on the way through, you then have to react to that. Yeah, so you've potentially started to go one way to save the ball takes a deflection, you've got to react to it and still make the save. Yeah. I've seen some goalkeeper training, actually, it looks pretty intense, where they've got like, it's essentially like just a plastic wall with all kinds of bumps and knobbly bits and sticky out bits on it, and they'll throw the football at it and it'll bounce off in whatever direction, and of course the goalkeeper has to react to it and make the save. In a more scientific setting, you'll have I don't even know what they're called. They're like a reflex machine where you might have 12 buttons on the wall in front of you, and when one of them lights up, you've got to hit it as fast as you can, and it sort of measures how long it takes you from the light coming on to you pressing it. That's our reaction time. How long it takes to respond to that stimulus, really. So yeah, just in like, again, another like a sports example, a goalkeeper, you've got to make a save. If it takes a deflection, you've got to react to that deflection. In this sense, we're thinking, like I say, in order to monitor it, or test it, or to even improve it, it's doing things like I say, ball against the wall, let it bounce off in a random direction, you've got to react to it, or like I say, the tap test sort of thing. I know that's quite popular in a lot of sports as well, to check reflexes. I mean, like I say, if you're like boxing or contact sports, reaction time is going to go a really long way to help you up. If you can see that a guy's going to punch you, it's really helpful to get out of the way of it. Yeah. So reaction time, again, in that sense, kicking in there. It might be a Formula One driver reacting to a bit of debris on the track or a corner coming up that they've forgotten was coming or something like that. That's pure reaction time. Okay then, guys. Okay, so just to have a little bit of a recap, I think we've talked about most of these already this morning. There are a variety of fitness testing methods which athletes and sports performers can use, as can, of course, general population, the general public. So we might check our resting heart rate, which links in with this might not be the best plan actually, going back every time. Resting heart rate is going to link in quite well with our aerobic endurance. How hard is our heart working while we're resting? Yeah, it'll give us an idea of how hard our body's used to working. Yeah, if your body's used to working quite hard, then sitting around on the couch is going to feel like an absolute breeze. And if you're resting, your heart rate should be quite low. Yeah, because your body doesn't need so much oxygen to your muscles. So that's where resting heart rate and blood pressure and stuff can come into play and start to give us an idea. Obviously, blood pressure in general has its own parameters of what is normal, what's high, what's elevated, what's low. And can be tested obviously with like a blood pressure machine. And we've got BMI actually, which if you've never come across, that stands for body mass index, and that is a sort of marrying up your height to your weight on the BMI chart and figuring out where you land on that scale, really, I guess, on where you would land on the BMI chart can give us an idea of if we are, heavy for our height, the right weight for our height, or maybe it's even underweight for our height. Yeah. BMI, it's not the be all and end all, Some people are really fit and have a lot of lean mass and would show up as obese on a BMI. So if you were to get like a professional rugby player who are of course in really good shape cardiovascularly and have quite a lot of muscle, I know there have been rugby players that have been told because of the BMI chart that they're obese. You've just got so much muscle that you're heavy for your weight. Now, for the majority of us, that tends to not be the case. Yeah, so BMI can give us a good reading of, okay, right now, given that all of this isn't just lean, pure muscle, where do I fall on that BMI chart? Am I heavy for my height? Am I, underweight or whatever? So that's BMI, and again, that's body mass index. Not the be all and end all, but can give us a good idea for our starting point. Are we heavy? Are we light? Based on our height. And then I know I've mentioned these other three as we've gone through this morning, be it the 1 rep max, which is for flexibility. Put your feet against the box, legs are straight, and you're trying to lean forward and see how far you can actually stretch. Oh no, sorry, that's the bloody sit and reach test. Yeah, the 1 rep max is of course doing one lift, one repetition, lifting a weight once, but as heavy as possible. Yeah. So the maximum you can do at once with a particular muscle group or particular muscle. Yeah. Sit and reach test for flexibility, and skin fold calipers, like I say, is for body composition and checking how much sort of fat and water and stuff we might be carrying. So those are some of the most common fitness testing methods that you're going to come across. Now, as always, the method of, like I mentioned at the start of the session, really, the method of testing should relate specifically to the component being tested, if that makes sense. If I've had a client since day one who said to me, look, Rob, I'd like to work on my strength. I want to work on my strength. After 6 weeks, if I say, right, come on, let's see if you've got any stronger, and I get them to, I do the skin fold calipers test, and I'd say, oh yeah, you've lost some body fat. That's really good. They might have lost some body fat, but that wasn't what we were trying to do, if that makes sense. That wasn't what the focus was. And it's always nice to get one of the extra components as almost like a byproduct. Some of them will come while you focus on others because they're kind of linked. But yeah, sort of like I say, what you really want a client to do is progress in the ways that's important to them. Yeah. So if they said to me, look, Rob, I want to get stronger, and I really should be doing a 1 rep max test to see if they have gotten stronger. Can they lift a heavier weight than when they started? That's surely to the majority of people the definition of getting stronger. You know, it wouldn't make any sense to do the skin fold calipers and say, yeah, it's okay, you've lost some body fat, your body composition's got better. And they'd be like, well, Rob, what about my strength? I wasn't bothered about body composition. It's nice, it's added bonus, but what about my strength? That's why I've been coming here. That's why I come to the gym. So yeah, you want to make sure that you're testing, you're specifically picking the sort of testing method based on what component it is that you're testing. Because like I say, doing a 1 rep max test won't tell you how flexible somebody is. Doing a sit and reach test won't tell you how sort of aerobically fit somebody is. Yeah. So again, we want to make sure that we're testing in the ways and they're related to what it is that we're trying to test, which is based on what it is that we're trying to develop. Okay, so just a quick little look at some of the equipment that we have available to us to help testing as well, just to give us an example. Of course, I mentioned a blood pressure monitor or blood pressure cuff a couple of slides ago. That's what that looks like there. It's inflatable, almost like an armband, goes on your arm. You'll sort of Velcro it up, hit the button and it'll start to inflate. Sometimes it feels a little bit tight, a little bit uncomfortable, but that's checking your heart rate. No, it's not. It's checking your blood pressure. Sorry. Some of them check your heart rate as well and tell you how fast your heart is beating. But what we're really measuring for is the pressure in the heart and in the blood vessels at that time, really. Okay then. Okay, so we've got the blood pressure monitor just to get familiar with what that looks like. Um, of course, the stethoscope there as well could help you check heartbeat and heart rate. And that's what this lady on the left is doing as well. So two other ways we can check our heart rate. Of course, this day and age, we have wearable technology on our wrist. If you're fortunate to be in a position where you've got something like that, be it a Fitbit, a sort of smartwatch or whatever, that will tell us, how hard our heart is working right now, how many beats per minute. And even if you don't have a fancy little wristwatch, you can do it just by what this lady's doing here. You take 2 fingers, put your finger on your sort of neck until you can feel the pulse or feel the beat. And then you just count how many times it beats in 60 seconds. Yeah, set a little timer away. How many times does it beat in 60 seconds? That's my beats per minute. Yeah. So we don't necessarily need the technology. In that case, anyway, in that case, I'm not saying technology is not absolutely awesome when it works right and when we need it. While we're on, I guess, primitive testing means we've got, of course, a very basic stopwatch. How fast did you run that distance or whatever? How fast did it take you to do X, Y, and Z? Did you do it faster than last time? Excellent, we're making progress. And a whistle as well. If we're thinking about things like reaction times, it might be right, okay, you're not going to jump in the pool and start swimming, or you're not going to set off running until you hear this whistle, or probably more in the event, you're not going to hear a gunshot. You need that reaction time, and a whistle can work really well for that. Don't do that until I've hit the whistle or blown the whistle. But when I've blown the whistle, I want you to go as fast as possible. Yeah, that sort of thing. And then another little bit more fancy bit of kit we've got on the right hand side that this person's standing on. Of course, we've got scales which will tell us our weight. Now, again, weight is your relationship with gravity, and that is it. Your weight, be it in kilograms, stones, pounds, whatever, is not tied to our value as a person. Yeah. Or our sort of capabilities as a person as well. Scales measure how hard gravity is making you push on the top of those scales, pretty much. That's all it's measuring. Yeah. Now, that can be a good place. Yes, some people will want to work based on their weight. I would like to lose a stone. I would like to lose 2 stone. And that's where your weight's going to come in, and your scales are going to come in handy in checking that. And obviously getting your base reading at first. In order to lose 2 stone, you need to know how much you weigh right now. But some of these new fancier scales are a little bit more high tech. So you might go on barefoot like this person has, and it might actually measure your body composition. How much body fat have you got? How much water are you carrying? I don't know the ins and outs of how it does it, but it's pretty interesting. It can obviously take out some of the harder to measure sort of variables and just give you that information. But yeah, really, really cool and handy to be aware of. Some gyms have got them. You know, you go in and you might just be able to jump straight on. Some of them you might have to pay a quid to use, and it prints out your little ticket with your results on and stuff. But that's mainly body composition we're looking at, and I guess weight, which again is a word that fills some people full of dread. But again, it's not to a personal trainer won't ever take your weight and then use it against you. We openly sort of acknowledge that being conscious about your weight is one of the main reasons why people come to the gym in the first place. Yeah, so it's not to shame, it's not to shine a light on it and to be and to sort of demonize. It's just this is where we started. Yeah. If you want to lose weight and we need to check that you've lost weight, we need to know how much you weigh. Yeah, it makes sense. Okay then guys. So carrying out a fitness test. If we were carrying out a fitness test, yeah. So you've got your client, they've come in, been through everything that we talked about last week in the terms of we've said hello, we've introduced ourselves, giving them a little bit of an idea what to expect. Gary, I've just seen you chat there. You don't have your camera on, by the way. I don't know why. It's giving me the option to start video. I think that's something to do with everything on Office's end. I'm sure people don't need to see my face for the next half an hour. That's for sure. If we've made it this far, but I appreciate you pointing that out, guys. Good morning as well, mate. I hope you're good. I hope you've had a good weekend. And hopefully we might have some signings to get excited about this week. But yeah, fingers crossed, fingers crossed. But thanks for dropping by this morning, man. We just putting ourselves in the position of if we were a personal trainer or we were a gym instructor and we were stepping into that vocation or into that industry, what sort of things might we want to consider if we were carrying out a fitness test on somebody else? Yeah. So working with a client, like I mentioned last week, it starts with trust. It starts with trust, really, which of course kind of goes hand in hand with being truthful. We've got to just, like I say, started like from the offset, really, including when you meet somebody for the first time, trying to sort of demonstrate that you are sort of trustworthy, will act professionally, and that you're truthful as well. It comes from that being honest with somebody, and it goes both ways as well. I think it goes both ways, but of course you can only control what comes from your side. But yeah, sort of building that relationship and getting a client to believe in what you're telling them and sort of buying into what you're telling them they need to do. It comes with trust. If somebody who I've known for 2 minutes says, "Oh, Rob, I need you to do this," or "You need to do this," I'd be like, "Well, why?" Whereas if it's someone you've known for a long time and you trust, it'd be like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, no question," that sort of thing. There may be times where, as an instructor, I'm asking you to do things that you don't necessarily enjoy the most in the world. And again, it comes down from, look, trustworthy, I'm telling you the truth. I wouldn't ask you to do it if it wasn't important to where you've told me you would like to get to. Yeah. And again, that comes from that trust and building that relationship as well. So that is something that you are sort of, when you're doing a fitness test, you potentially don't know, I haven't known the person that long. So you're trying to show them, yeah, you are truthful and trustworthy. Listen to the individual. Now, this is a big one. They may give you feedback as you go, or offer info about their lifestyle, diet, hobbies. Now, hobbies is a big one now. Day-to-day life and the things that people enjoy are ultimately going to determine how much success somebody has. Yeah. Somebody might want to train for a marathon and get a good time, but if they are working 6 days, 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, you know, you got to be honest and say, that training is going to be quite difficult, but I actually understand your situation a lot better, so we can plan for it. Yeah. So it's a chance to start to pick up on what makes what makes that person tick, what makes that individual tick, and what motivates them, why they joined the gym in the first place. Because that's always a good thing to come back to. Because when their motivation dips, and they're thinking about quitting, you can remind them why they started in the first place. Yeah. Which again, if you've listened to what they're talking about, and what they're saying, you might actually have a lot more to work with. If they've said to you, yes, I want to get fit because my family likes going on long walks and I'm not active enough to go with me, that's that's one thing that I can say, right, okay, I can say based on your sort of lifestyle, your hobbies, what it is that you'd like to do, we're going to approach your exercise in this way. But yeah, you can learn so much about somebody, and I mean, not even just from like a personal training point of view. Um, Find out, do they like do they like sports? Do they like any of the same sports that you do? What do you have in common? Can you start to build and again sort of develop that bond a little bit more? Clients obviously more likely to keep coming back, and they're more likely to make progress if you get on well with them. It's there's no secret in that. I've had clients approach me for personal training before, and I've said, look, based on what you've told me, what your goals are, the sort of things that you like doing, I'm going to recommend that you go and train with this personal trainer instead, because they'll be better suited for you. You'll get more out of them, and again, comes a little bit from that's just being truthful. I have seen PTs that will take every client that comes past them, regardless of how sort of well equipped they are to train them, rather than just passing them on to somebody who's a little bit more suitable, and again, that develops that trust, but when it comes to a fitness test, again, you might just be looking for like little clues in their diet, in their lifestyle. I've had clients say to me, "Look, Rob, I just haven't had time to come to the gym since I've seen you last, so I haven't done that workout you gave us to do." I'm like, "Okay, fair dues, fair dues." And then like when they're on the treadmill at the end of the session doing their cool down, I'll be saying, "Oh, so did you see Game of Thrones this week?" They'll be like, "Oh yeah, 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 I saw Game of Thrones. I love watching. Like I've binged the last season in the last week." I'm like, "Well, hang on, a minute ago you told me you haven't had time to come to the gym. Which one is it?" Yeah. And again, it just comes from listening, picking up on stuff like that. If you, as the instructor or the personal trainer, assume that you know everything, all of a sudden it stops becoming personal training. It's just training because you're telling them how it is, and would probably do the same for everybody. Yeah, it's not personal if it's not based on the person. Yeah, their lifestyle, their diet, their hobbies, what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy, what they dislike. And again, you can really start to get an insight into how somebody's mind works and what sort of traps and pitfalls they might fall into, what barriers they might come up against. And it just, knowledge is power, guys. It just puts you in a position to understand the situation more, and the hiccups that you might encounter and how that you might deal with them as well. Now this is another big one as well. Now, know as much as you can before meeting the person. So I know what I've literally just been saying is when you've met the person and you're with the person, listen, absorb that information, absorb what they're saying, listen to them talk. They haven't come to you to listen to your sort of belly aching and twisting and complaining. You're probably going to hear a little bit of their twisting and complaining about their life and just about what's stressing them out. But there's always an element about that. And there's lots of jobs where sort of that is part and parcel with it. Be you a hairdresser and listening to people's lives, or whether you're training people for an hour a couple of times a week in the gym, you get to know them. But there's a lot can be said as well for, can you find out as much as possible even before you meet them? Do you have an idea of sort of, again, like I say, not to judge a book by its cover, but can you find out any concrete information, you know. And like I said before, I used to go and check people's gym sign-up sheets where they've put all their information, injuries that they've had, medication they're on, and I can use that to, again, not make any assumptions, but say, right, okay, this is off the cards for the fitness test. We're not going to be doing how many squats can you do in a minute. They've just had a knee replacement a couple of months ago. You know, things like that. You can fine tune things, but again, you might be able to find out just a little bit more about that person. So yeah, like it says on there, knowing as much as you can before meeting the person makes it easier to initiate and maintain conversation. Again, you will have clients who are going to just talk at you for an hour. And at the same time, you will have clients that don't open up very much. They don't talk very much. They will only really respond to a question rather than asking a question themselves. Probably in their earlier sessions are going to be quite quiet and quite nervous and quite reserved as well. When you train anybody for the first time, when you do anything with anybody new for the first time, you kind of hold that a little bit back, don't you? It's human nature, I think. But in order to be able to sort of communicate and engage with the person that we're working with, it adds a lot of value to the sessions. It adds a lot of value to your sort of understanding of their situation, and what tweaks and again adjustments you might be able to make. Or it might be something as simple as this little example that we've got down at the bottom. Yeah, if someone's coming to the gym and they're overweight and they've joined the gym because they want to lose weight, it's all on their tracker. It's all on their sign-up sheet that they've filled in when they've joined up. I've read this. The last thing I want to do for someone who's conscious about their weight when they come in and say, right, we're going to do a fitness test. Sit there. I'm going to go get me skin fold calipers and I'm going to come along. Or even worse, you don't tell them. You just come out and start like grabbing bits of their body and measuring it. It's the last thing anybody in that situation is going to want. You know, that would be enough to make me turn around and leave. And being conscious about my weight isn't ever something that I've ever sort of really been worrying about. It's, you know, it would be quite jarring. It would be quite unsettling, and it would probably put you off. Like when we talked last week, when I'm saying in your initial interactions with a client or a gym member or a customer, is going to form their experience and their idea of what this experience is. If they have a bad experience, that's all they're going to remember. They won't come back. And it might put them off in the future as well. Whereas if they have a good experience, they're more likely to keep coming back. Yeah. So the more we can accommodate someone and the more we can sort of achieve what they would like to achieve while also making them feel comfortable goes a really long way. Yeah. So in this case, in this example, if someone's joined up, they've got a lot of weight to lose, they would, you know, that's why they're joining. Like I say, they're probably quite conscious. Is everybody looking at me, this, that, and the other? You don't want to make them feel more conscious. Yeah. So in this case, rather than getting the skin fold calipers and nipping, I might be like, right, okay, can we use just the scales to track your weight? Can we do a circumference measurement around your waist and check, you know, not how much you weigh, but the circumference of your waist? Can we go by something a little bit more abstract, like your what notch you've got your belt on today? Yeah, because as you lose weight, that will come down. Making notes of things like that is much more beneficial than making somebody uncomfortable just to get a skin fold caliper reading, so you've got something to track your progress against later on. Yeah, because you need that. You need that. Like I've said all morning, if you get six weeks down the line, in order to say, right, did you get any better? You need to know where you start. You need to be able to recall that. Yeah. But having that bit of data alone isn't worth getting the skin fold calipers out and making somebody self-conscious. Yeah. So just another thing to consider. Really, the person being comfortable and at ease is the most important thing, because that will be, like I say, what determines whether they come back or not. Yeah. So that is carrying out a fitness test, guys, and things that we might want to consider even beforehand, really. But it is, like I say, it's a chance to just soak up as much information as possible, learn about that person, what makes them tick, why are they here talking to you now today? Yeah, drove them through the door today rather than 6 weeks ago or in 6 weeks' time? Yeah, why now? And that's a really good chance to find out what that person relates to as well. You know, you might be able to find out. Look, okay, they've talked quite a lot about television. You know, video games. Maybe this person, as hobbies, is quite inactive. Yeah, there's a lot of video gaming. There's a lot of this, that, and the other. Again, it can just give you information that you can use going forward, guys. So soak that information up. Just be a giant ear, pretty much. When you're meeting people for the first couple of times, just soak it in like a big sponge. Because it will help. Like I say, we're all different. We all work differently. We all respond differently to different stuff. And that's what makes it personal training at the end of the day. So yeah, guys, just like we're saying there in that example, using skin fold calipers could make somebody really self-conscious if they were already sort of self-conscious about their weight as well. Other things to consider: being polite and welcoming, obviously, is going to go a long way. Same as if you were to walk into any shop. If the person behind the till starts swearing at you and doesn't seem very happy to see you, you're going to turn around and leave, aren't you? Yeah. And probably not go back because you've had that bad negative experience now. So yeah, being polite, being welcoming, creating that positive mental image of this environment. When this person is sitting at home thinking, I'm going to the gym tonight, what are they going to be picturing? Is it going to be your smiling face as they come through the door and having a bit of a giggle while they make some progress and train in a way that they know is safe and, of course, structured? You know, or are they going to think, oh, gym tonight, and they're going to think, oh, a PT that barely seems bothered that I'm there in a gym where everybody feels like they're looking at us, and you know, everybody has been there longer than I have. They're going to have one or two of those experiences. You know, we tend to, like I say, have those good associations or bad associations, and in this case, you're partially responsible for them forming. Yes, so be polite, welcoming, make that person feel as though it's their space to be in as well as everybody else's. Because I remember when I first went in the gym, it felt like I was walking into everybody else's space. Like this is where they go, and have done for a while now. And I'm a new face sort of thing. So I totally understand that. And only as you start to feel welcome that you start to feel like you belong, I guess. Again, good positive body language. Again, you know, it's funny because like it's almost the universal PT sort of stance where you're just stood with your arms folded. Maybe it's just obviously something to do with your hands. It's and nice and easy to check your watch and see how long someone's got on their set left or whatever. But I mean, again, that's not overly negative, I don't think. I mean, if you spent the whole session like that, not really engaging, that's something different. But again, if you can be like a little bit more emotive, being a little bit more sort of enthusiastic, you know, sort of maybe you're even doing where suitable, doing the exercise with the person, give them that little bit of support and encouragement rather than just standing there going, one more. There you go. Well done. You know, again, it's going to go a really, really long way with building a good sort of imagery when it comes to thinking of exercising or negative. Yeah. And we always want to be doing the good. Same again, when a client approaches you, can you say hi? Can you shake their hand? Do you do high fives, fist bumps, whatever it might be? Again, if you walk in for your personal training session and your PT looks up from the desk and goes, all right, and just goes by the phone, be like, oh, well, you know, I know it's your job, but like, you know, like at least a little bit happy to see us. Like I could be training with any other PTs, you know, giving them my money, and you're not even that little bit sort of happy to see us sort of thing. Or can't even pretend that you're happy to see us, you know. Again, it's just going to start that negative reinforcement when it comes to exercise. So good, positive body language. Try and be as positive in general as you can. You know, don't let someone hurt themselves doing something stupid, but, you know, a little bit of belief. Yes, you can do this. Of course you can. Yeah, let's go. Again, goes a really long way. Personal space and hygiene is a big one as well, especially in a fitness environment, because You are probably a personal trainer that maybe's been in the gym all day, maybe's worked out yourself, maybe's done a couple of fitness classes, you know, deodorant, change your clothes, as the gym got showers, all of that sort of thing. Um, Obviously hygiene as well. But of course, the individual as well, we've got to think about as well. Following people onto machines where they've sweated, or taking our clients from machines and they're leaving sweat behind, making sure that we're wiping stuff down as we go. Obviously, that's a good example. And you can hopefully encourage that client to do it themselves as well. Look, do you mind just putting the weights away, wiping the thingies down? Hiccups there. And yeah, it's just a good. Oh, there we go. It's a good chance to show them sort of what is expected. Just waiting now. I'm just waiting for the next one. Okay then, guys. So personal space has obviously been a hot topic over the last couple of years with COVID, social distancing, stuff like that. Now, I am trying to operate in the mind frame of let people come to me rather than go to people. I don't want to invade anyone's body space who's still a little bit conscious of that. You know, we have had people that have been really ill through COVID. We, inevitably lost people through COVID, and we can only ask people to process things in their own way. And if somebody is still a little bit wary of their personal space, we kind of need to honor that as much as we can, as much as is realistic as well. Now, of course, obviously, wiping the machines down and stuff like that links to my hygiene and as much as COVID anyway as well. But yeah, personal space, you're going to be working in close proximity to people, really. And again, can you let them know? Look, if you're, I'll keep my distance, but if you're struggling with that bar, you know, um, I need to step in and grab it for you and make sure you don't, smash your chest or like smash your ribs up. Um, and you can maybe discuss that with the client as well. You can maybe say, right, okay, you don't want me coming into your personal space, even in those circumstances. We just can't afford to have that much weight on the bar. Then you need to be lifting the weight that you're 100% confident with. If you're not going to allow anybody to come and support you, in your personal space, and that's totally fine. That's totally fine. Like I say, we've got to. It's the exercise is planned around that person and their preferences and their goals, obviously. Not always just the preferences, but goals as well. But yeah, personal space and hygiene, like I say, it's a big one. We always need to consider these, but certainly when we are sort of fresh out of a global pandemic, just honor people's personal space a little bit more. We used to potentially being in isolation at home, having, time and space to shop in the shops. It might still be a little bit jarring for people. If you're leaning through their personal space to grab stuff. Not that there wasn't people that did that all pandemic long anyway, but yeah, we control what we can and try not to stress too much about what we can't. So yeah, personal space and hygiene are both yours and theirs. Need thinking about. First of all, this next one, keep their results, info, and data. Full stop. Yeah, someone comes to you and says, "What weight was I 3 months ago?" You want to be able to tell them, not be like, "Oh, that's on a bit of paper that I randomly scribbled down and I've lost it somewhere. I don't know where that is." you know. But then beyond that, once you've got that information, it needs to be kept private and confidential, which means it doesn't need to be shared with anybody that doesn't need to know it. Certainly not without the client's permission. Yeah. So yeah, again, coming back to trustworthiness, if somebody gives you their sort of sensitive personal info, data, phone numbers, email addresses, house addresses, whatever it might be, that needs to remain private and confidential as well. Yeah. So always fitness test or otherwise. Yeah. And then can you think of any more? By all means, guys, drop me an email or pop in the chat. I've a nightmare with chat with you. I can't find the oh, there we go. For some reason, yeah, my laptop's bringing up your comment, guys, but my phone isn't. Bear with us 2 seconds. All right, guys, no worries, no worries. keeping an eye on that anyway. But yes, guys, please do drop me an email if you can think of anything else that we might need to consider when carrying out a fitness test that I might have forgotten this morning. I'm sure there was another slide in there somewhere. One thing that we do want to think about as well is, of course, my computer's throwing a wobbler. We would want to, before carrying out a fitness test, yeah, I don't know where that slide's gone. Before carrying out a fitness test, let the client know what you're going to do and why. Yeah. Even if somebody's not overly conscious about their weight, they're going to be a little bit concerned when you get the little tweezers out of the calipers and start trying to nip parts of their body. Or when you're saying, right, stand up, I'm going to measure your arm, your waist, your hips, and your inner, like the top of your thigh. You'd be like, well, why are you doing that? You know, if you let them know in advance, you can first get sort of their consent and that they're happy for you to do it. Again, coming back to personal space and stuff like that. You can get consent, and they're not going to be sort of thrown when you start to, do any of your testing or whatever it is. You've told them what to expect, and you've told them why as well. I would advise carrying out a fitness test in a public area, but not a necessarily busy area. Yeah, so something where other people can access, and there might be one or two people about. But obviously, if someone's getting skin fold tests and we're measuring like around the waist and stuff like that, if they're going to be lifting a top up or whatever, they want a little bit of privacy. Yeah, but just in terms of protecting yourself as well, and protecting your client, do it in a public space rather than going into a room and locking it, because then you leave yourself open to all kinds of, well, their word against yours sort of thing, and we can just kind of leave it there. But yeah, just another thing to think about, the space that you do in a fitness test in, if somebody's quite conscious, thinking about what they're doing and where, you don't necessarily want someone to do the skin fold caliper test in front of the treadmills where everybody just running or walking, just looking at you. You'd feel right uncomfortable. So yeah, there's that to think about. Then yeah, like I say, just letting them know in advance what you're going to be doing as well goes a really long way. Okay then, guys, cool. So coming back to those components of fitness, we can really start to have a think of, okay, if you're still struggling for ideas or structure for your circuits, we can start to maybe think about, right, okay, I'll make it based on aerobic endurance, and we'll do a lot of sort of cardio exercises, mountain climbers, skipping maybe, shuttle runs, burpees, all of that sort of thing. That's very sort of aerobic based. Might be muscular, and you might want to say, right, I'm going to alternate a quadricep exercise with a pectoral exercise, but make my sets quite long so people have 60 seconds for that muscle to really get tired. If you only pick 20 seconds for a set and somebody does 20 seconds of squats, have they really had long enough for that endurance to be tested? Have their muscles even started to get tired? Yeah. So yeah, we can use those components of fitness to help plan our circuits as well. But I guess a broader question might be, which of those components of fitness are important to you? Which would you like to develop in your own well-being, in your own life, like sort of like day-to-day life? Is flexibility important? Is it strength? Is it endurance? Would you rather have better balance, reflexes, flexibility? There's lots and lots of different reasons that might start us on our fitness journey. And again, we can hopefully achieve one, change our focus and shift that focus to something else as well. So yeah, that'll about do us for today's session, actually, guys. As always, if you've got any questions, please just drop me an email. That is, like I say, in the link below today's the description box below today's video. Sorry. So yeah, my email's in there if you need it. There's a link for today's survey. There is, of course, a link to today's fitness video as well, which by all means, again, check out if you're still struggling for ideas when it comes to exercises for your circuit or whatever it is. Yeah, we can use that for today's session. Again, check out the last couple of sessions that we've done as well if you're still struggling for ideas. Like I mentioned earlier on, if you're getting to the point where your circuit cards are nearly done and you just want to deliver them and get them sort of done and out of the way with, drop me an email and we'll get that organized and booked in. Shouldn't take too long, and yeah, you can just get those done. Okay then, guys. So the main focus, there's of course no homework really for this week. We're getting to, like I said, the thick end of having most of our booklets done. Just focus on those circuit cards really, getting your final designs done, getting them actually on paper and finalized really. Cool. Then yeah, like I say, we can get them delivered through a little one-to-one Zoom. Okay then, guys, cool. So yeah, as always, don't forget to check out today's fitness video if you want to get some extra ideas, or a little bit of inspiration maybe. Again, please check out all of our fitness videos if you are looking for different ways to keep active without a load of exercise equipment. You know, the majority of the videos that we've got on the channel are body weight based. So lots of different ways we can train using nothing other than our own body weight and hopefully a little bit of space. You know, there's even a nice little stretching video on there as well. So if you maybe thinking, okay, it's Monday morning, let's have a nice little stretch, ease myself into the week nicely. There's something on there for everybody, guys. So please do check them out. And yeah, maybe get some ideas for your circuit cards as well. Okay then, guys, we'll leave it there then for today. Yeah, please don't forget to just rattle off that little survey for us quick. It's not even 30 seconds, nice and easy, and it gets everything back over to us automatically as well. We will, of course, be back next Monday for session 9. I'm just going to give a quick little preview. That's a brief preview, I guess. Give a little preview of what we're going to be doing in next week's session. Next week's session, let's have a quick little look. We are going to be, the suspense is killing us. We are going to be planning our own fitness assessment. Yeah. So I'll beginning to plan our own fitness assessment. So what exactly step by step you would do with a new client if they were to come into your gym or your whatever it is for the first time. Yeah, so planning your own fitness assessment, ways that we can keep people safe and ways that we can keep the client at ease as well, we'll get into next week. So yeah, we're going to be looking at obviously with only one session left after that, so only 2 left overall. We will be yeah, finalizing those circuit cards and getting them delivered. And other than that, guys, we will be back, like I say, next week to look at planning our own fitness assessment for our clients. Helps us, of course, not just planning an activity, but leading an activity as well, and showing us how having something in front of us, be it circuit cards or a fitness assessment, can help keep us on track as well. Right, okay, I know what the next step is, I know what we're doing next. Yeah, which goes to benefit you as the instructor as much as the client. But we will save all of that for next week. Yeah, guys, we'll call it there. We're back next Monday, 10 till 12:30. Obviously, 12:30 is including the fitness video as well. So yeah, check out today's. Let me know how you got on. And you know where I'm at if you need me in the meantime. Okay, guys, we'll be back, like I say, next Monday, same time, to do it all again, session 9. Keep all of the session links in case you do want to come back and revisit any. And of course, as always, guys, stay safe. Have a good week. Look after those around you as well. And we will be back next Monday if I don't see or hear from you beforehand. Have a good week, guys. Have a good Monday. Take care, and I will see you all next week. Take care. Bye.